Speaking of, oh, this is so funny. One of the things I've done is I have a client that I'll volley back and forth with and have fun, and they were making fun of that I was like, you're so casual in your emails to me, and I'm like, well, we're friends, that's why I do that. And I was like, oh, great. I said, from now on in, I'm going to be much more formal. And any email that I write, I put it through ChatGPT, and I say, put this in Old English. Yeah. And so it writes it like Dickens. So it'd be like, are you ready for the meeting in 10 minutes? But it's like this long. It'll
Faust.
like I did see, we're friends, we could do it.
That's
So
cool. I think that's cool. And that's even like a cool like flip on it to like go to the other extreme of like, yeah, using it for like old English language or, I really enjoy saying, oh, imagine you're this person and write like them. And then it comes through. And so like really taking the writing to the extreme rather than just going, oh, write me a blog post or an email. It's like giving it these really specific, like, yeah, in old English, like Shakespeare or pretend you're Taylor Swift or Elon Musk or whoever it is. And then like just that's been really fun to play around with just different angles of tonality and voice and all of that in the writing. Yeah. If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. You'll get the latest on marketing, AI, and how to grow your business. It only takes 2 seconds and really helps the show grow. So please hit subscribe and then continue listening. So, Christopher, you founded your own marketing agency, the Go Agency. Why did you get into marketing? Like, why not psychology or construction? Like, what is it that you love about marketing?
funnily enough, it's the psychology of it that got me
There you go.
interested. Yeah, I love understanding what motivates people and being able to deliver things that they would find that enriches their life, or kind of meeting people where they are with the right message was always something I thought was super cool. So, and I always had, before we started this recording, we were talking about travel. Travel was always really interesting to me because I love sociology and I love cultures and that type of thing. So that was like what, when I got the first taste of that, I was like, my marketing gene just went, whoa, there's so much to dig into. So yeah, I worked for a long time for other people, which isn't successful for me. I mean, working with clients in a collaborative environment in an agency, perfect fit. Me working for a boss and then trying to fit in those boxes, not a good fit for Chris. I worked in the music industry for years. Worked in music education. I worked in, and when I basically all these things that I was doing were adding color to my marketing skills. And then when I came back to the States, after working in London for a few years, I worked in a PR company, and then it was just boom. I understood exactly how PR fits with marketing, fits with social media, fits with everything. And I had that aha moment. And then it came to the point where I thought to myself, I'd rather build this how I want to build this, because I want to get into, like, I'm sure a lot of your listeners, they're creating their own futures now. The life is a little bit more malleable and organic than it used to be, because you had to do this by this age, and this by this age, and then die by this age. That that always to me felt incorrect for how I was as a person. So I figured, let's create my own environment in an agency where I'm not going to be like an agency that's typical. I want to have everyone feel like they are being heard. Everyone is going to develop together and create like a strong team mentality. Because a lot of agencies that I dealt with in the past were very competitive, very backbitey, and just stressful. And everyone was talking about how long hours they had to work and how stressed out they were. And I was thinking, why would I want to do that if that's going to be my life? Like, why would I want to work 16 hours worrying about, oh no, on page 57 of a report that no one's going to read, I forgot to put a period on that sentence. Can't sleep. Oh my God, I'm sick to my stomach. It's like, yeah, people are not living lives here. I mean, so
Right.
I think putting that color into the way the agency was formed really helped it grow over the years, because I believe it or not, we're like in going into our 17th year in business.
Nice.
And it's nice to still look at the mission statements that I drafted when I first started and where we are now, and they're totally aligned still.
That's
Um,
cool.
it's a cool feeling, right?
Oh, yeah. What do you, if you can recall, what were the mission statements that you made when you first started?
And the mission statements were always to lead with humanity, always listen to the other person before you speak. And when you feel that you know what's best for the person because you understand where they're coming from, make sure you really try to force them to understand the importance of what you want to get across to them in a kind and collaborative way. Never dictate, never we're right, you're wrong, never condescension, always leading with collaboration. And it's such a funny thing because I was on a call with a team that I'm working with recently, and a couple people had pointed out that I was looking at the client and I was kind of modeling some of my language after their language. And I said, yeah, well, that's because I'm listening to them and people like to hear the words that they said coming out of somebody else because that shows understanding. And that was a real big, like, huh, wow. And I was thinking to myself, am I alone here? Is this normal? The normal stuff, right? I think it's normal. Listen and relate, and because I do like people, and I like problem solving more than I like people, if it makes sense. So I like to see, like, when I go into a consulting arrangement where, like, talking about being like forthright, and we're dealing with a marketing department and a sales department that just don't like each other. That is like a light from heaven shining down on me and making me feel all warm and glowy because I know I can fix it. I know how to fix that. And it's those moments that I like to put myself in. And I think being really transparent, and I never say I do things that I don't do. I never say that, oh, and then figure it out later. If I don't know how to do it, I'm not going to say it. And that helps me not lie to people, always remember what I had to say, and things that are kind of important. So
Mm.
I guess that was kind of a long way around saying it, that things have not changed because people may have changed actually more towards that end rather than being how it was 16 years ago. People are now, everyone wants to feel like an individual. Everyone wants to listen, want to be heard and listened to and understood. And that's what that makes me pretty happy because that's what I've been always thinking is the best way. That's why, like, I was hitting about 5 or 6 years ago. I was hitting like I was just hitting an impasse with some of our marketing because I just felt like the marketing for some of my clients wasn't being leveled up, and it was that time when people's understanding was changing.
Mhm.
And I have to remember that this happens in the digital world, that people hit these limits of understanding. Like AI, is a great one, because I've asked about that, and I'm sure you talk about it a lot on your podcast. But it's something that comes up so often, and it's that new thing where there's an impasse that's going to happen. Because the learning curve it ain't that steep. I mean, if I want to be honest, it's just the lens that you're looking at the conversation through that is the game changer, I think.
Right. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Almost like people, like you mentioned, just want to be heard and seen and connected with and valued. And yeah, like that reminds me, I think it's called Socratic reasoning, where it's like, I think this is more in a conflict management, but I mean, it sounds similar to what you're talking about of repeating back to people what they said before continuing so that then they feel like, yes, you're understanding me, you hear me. And I think in client relationships, that's like super important. So, and especially as you mentioned, AI, that is such a human thing. I mean, to be able to do that in the world of AI and information, I think is just more important than ever. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, there's a book that I absolutely love, and it's by Chris Voss, and it's called Never Split the Difference. And I don't know how I came about this book, but I came about it. And he is an FBI hostage negotiator, and he shares his way that he negotiates. And I was just interested in it because I'm a nerd and about communication and things like that. And I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many amazing tactics that I can use with clients to help them feel understood, to bring more understanding. And what they were saying, repeating back, is called mirroring. And his one, the one thing that I love the most is, and I do this all the time when I read it, it's just, I love when I read things that I do in other people's like advisements. I'm just like, oh, cool. Okay. I'm ahead of the curve, or they just got a book deal late. I don't know. But he said, and he said, well, one of the best ways to disarm somebody when they're angry is to label them as angry. And I do that all the time, because who does not get a client email that's angry once in a while that comes out of the blue?
Right.
And in my many years, as the elder statesman, I would definitely say that it's because their wife just had a fight with them, or they fell out with their mom, or they were late to pick up their kids, or their dog's sick, or it's some other stress,
Right.
or it's being pushed down. There's drama from another level being pushed down on them. Because this is how understanding humans really helps with your marketing, because you don't just be like, what a jerk. Oh my God. And then what happens is that's affected you, and you can ruin the whole relationship if you're impetuous, which I'm very much that guy. So I need to push myself away and go take a walk and do whatever and go, they're fine, come back with a fresh lens and I'm good to go. And funnily enough, what I've done is I've actually built a custom GPT that I use for communicators. So if somebody sends me an email and I don't know what they're asking me. I don't know what sentiment, I don't know where their head is. I just get that email body and I put it in and I said, what do they mean? How are they feeling? What's going on there? And I built it in such a way that it will be like, the tone is low. It's very direct. They are on a deadline. Something else is happening. So what I do is I use that to create a labeling message that I write myself and then send it back to them. Um,
That's genius.
you know what though? But this is a way that I think people aren't necessarily thinking about AI. Well, I saw the other day, I got a newsletter and it was how people are using AI for therapy. And people were like, this is the best idea ever. And oh my gosh. I'm like, oh no. There is a value in these types of applications as long as you understand that you have to be the expert. That's where it's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Because looking at it as like the be all and end all of everything, everything sounds right because you're the target audience. So it's the average person is pretty
Right.
much, unless you teach it and you make it smarter and you train it, you lift it up. But if my mom's just going to get on and say, I need 5 recipes for an Italian dish because I have sausage and pasta in the fridge. What can I make? And she gets that and she's like, oh my God, it knows everything about food. And I'm going to ask it up my diet plans. And, and then it's like, okay, the wheels are falling off this cart there, mom, is this doing this? Um, but no, it's a really useful tool. Like I use it. I'm using AI extensively, but I don't use it in the way that when I talk to a potential client and they say, well, I'm looking at your retainer and it says that there's a bunch of content. You're just going to do ChatGPT for all of that, aren't you? And I'm just like, adorable. You must be new to marketing. I no, I'm an agency. I'm not a one person that needs to extend their bandwidth with AI tools, and not a hater, but I know the game. And I'm not that person. I'll use it for ideation. Or if my thoughts are jumbled, to look for a North Star, to look at a transcript from a call and figure out maybe there was something that I missed and pick out little known facts that I can mention on the next call. There's so many things that are helpful. But just plugging it into your whole entire world and expecting it to happen, it's not the way forward, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I love all of that. It was funny. I actually sort of, when you mentioned the difficult client piece, I found what I've done sometimes, and this even works in like with personal relationships of, oh, like I'm like feeling like I want to like fight back. But obviously that's not a good thing to do. So I was like, okay. So I, put what I want to say into ChatGPT. And then I'm like, can you just make this like much more diplomatic, gentle, like still get the point across or communicate, but let's like bring it down like 10 notches and, maintain the relationship. And that's actually saved me a lot from like flying off the handle and just being like, okay, like here is a tool that's not emotionally invested in the situation that I can use to like help process this and maintain relationships going forward. So no, I think it's really cool.
No, it's really good. And I just think that even though we both talked about good things it does, you still have to read that email output. You have
Yeah.
to read it because if you think it knows you inside and out, it is a machine that is dealing with ones and zeros. It's
Right.
not,
It's
it's
not
not.
a real person.
No, and I said on a recent interview I did, it was basically treating AI like an intern and trying to bring it up to a junior and then bringing it up to a personal assistant and then a wingman. And then, you know what I mean? You're lifting it up and up and up. It doesn't just go from 0 to 60 because you entered a spreadsheet with all of your keywords in it. I mean, rub a lamp. I mean, I wish it worked like that,
Yeah.
but it don't. So it's a different process.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's one thing I really like about ChatGPT is the history that they maintain. And so when I go, like, because I use it sometimes several hours a day, it's continually refining and refining, and then it knows, oh, I don't have to like keep being super specific in my prompts. It just now it like actually writes in my own tonality, and now it knows kind of what I'm looking for, and so it's yeah, like what you mentioned about like lifting it up and training it. And even like I made a custom GPT last week and it was like, okay, here's some PDFs of some tonality examples, or here's, giving it those uploaded examples of writing content or visual content or whatever it is, so that it has an example of, oh, this is what I'm supposed to create. So it's very much like you said, like still being the driver of it and still telling it what to do, but also, yeah, just letting, like teaching it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's good for teaching yourself. So when I started a project, I think about 3 or 4 months ago, and it was with a large team, and every person was doing something very, very specific. Everyone had a different background, different experience, and we were all trying to work together for the greater good. And everybody refused to use Slack, and everything was an email. Oh my God, kill me. So I really like folks, if you are not using Slack or a tool like that, someone's thinking something about you out there. Just thinking something. So I think that I'm not going to tell you what it is. You can find that out by asking, but I would definitely say use Slack because it makes everyone's life easier because they don't want those 75 emails with one word. Oh, I didn't get it. Oh, got it. What was it? Where are we at? I'm lost on this stream. What's going on? Because when you don't have stream readers, you have issues. But no, actually, just wanted to say that about people that don't use Slack. I just wanted to throw
Rant. I love it.
but no, what I did was with this client, I everybody had their own approach to it. And then when I talked to the client, I was just like, oh, this is a different approach too. So what I did was I got all of that information and I said, okay, hey, you are going to be me trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. And I start asking you questions. And then I'm like, okay, let's take this out of the knowledge base and let's add this and whatever. And then what happens? I can be on a call with a cross-functional team and pull up direct quotes, pull up information really quickly by using it almost like a chat bot of information. And I can double check. And then they say, hey, where did this information come from? Oh, like, oh, you gave this to me on a call on January 3rd at 7 p.m. Is that still, that's not relevant anymore? And you can call people out on for information.
Right.
Especially when everyone is, well, the first thing I thought was, why does everybody have a different point of view? It's like, who's not listening? Going back to what I said before, who's not listening?
Right.
And in cases like that, it's pretty easy to figure out. Usually the consultants can be a little bit more, we're the experts and we're pushing this onto the client rather than understanding how the client would accept that information in the best way. Because it's like knowing your pitch. I mean, it is sales in a way. You're trying to get them to hook onto your concept that's going to help them. So
Yeah.
altruistic, you want to help them, but monetarily, you want that money. So how can you do that? By giving them what they want in a way that's going to benefit them rather than shoving your message down their throat and being like, well, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never seen. My God, if people say that to me, I'm like ready to push them out of a window. Like it's not my vibe at all. I knew it. It's somebody I was on a call the other day, and someone said, "Oh, yeah, well, I've been working in technology for about 40 years," and I'm like, "Okay, great. So you're working on something that is immediately outdated on a daily basis for 40 years. Great. You're a repository of lost facts." Awesome.
Good job.
But I mean, not being down on experience, but I hate when people get on a high horse
Yeah.
that the horse can't really stand up on. But
Yeah. I think that's cool. And yeah, it's definitely a pet peeve of mine too. And then it just reminds me of that quote, like, seek first to understand rather than to be understood. And it's like, I mean, that's just good business. Like, whether it's marketing, AI, like whatever business you have, e-commerce, to seek to understand whoever you're dealing with first. And like that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, feeling heard, feeling seen. Like that's just the name of the game, and a big part of negotiating and sales. Like we're always selling ourselves. We're always selling our ideas or getting buy-in from people in a personal context or professional. So I think,
right.
it's really important to be good at that and to remember that and not be like, oh, I know everything. And then not be very teachable and not be learning new skills. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in that point too, it's a really good point in the fact that it's specific to the person that you're marketing to. So if you are in an e-commerce business and you go even to AI and say, I'm in an e-commerce business and I want the best CRO tactics for the website. And the website pop up in my product pages and whatever. And it gives you a whole bunch of really interesting information that is compelling enough because it's information that you didn't know, all compiled into a beautifully like formatted list. And it's just compelling. I just going to do it. And then you just cut it, paste it, send it off to someone, a virtual assistant, and say, do this. And then none of the results come in. You're like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? I did everything. ChatGPT, because it's not the right industry. Maybe you're selling like batteries, and maybe you're selling pet food, and you're selling sunglasses, and everybody has different motivations. Like if you're getting pet food, it's for a loved one that's a valued member of the family. So it's going to be just equal to getting formula for your baby. But then if you're getting
Right.
sunglasses, what season is it? How many these are these priced at like a disposable price so anyone can get them? It's different strokes for different folks, and you can't just do these. It happens to me all the time. I'll have a potential client that I'll be talking to, and they're just like, nothing works. I've tried everything. And it's like, okay, well, slow your roll there, G. Like, what did you try? And they would tell me some of the stuff. And I'm like, oh, God. All right. Well, that's pretty general things.
That's why your marketing's not working.
That's why I'm here. And like, well, why should I choose you? And it's like, because you don't know how to market. But
Yeah, no, I like it. And so, like, in terms of, like, we sort of touched on AI, like, where do you see kind of the industry going in terms of like AI's impact on marketing? Because obviously, a lot of people are using some of these tools, playing around. I think there's obviously a danger of people just getting content and not knowing what good content is versus like average or bad content. So, like, I guess that's one thing. But yeah, what do you see as being some of the dangers maybe around AI and marketing or where the industry is headed? Yeah.
from my experience of dealing with people in sales in the sales cycle of learning more about them and doing proposals and hearing how they're talking about AI, it's an interesting split because the people that were always potential customers to me that would always be like, well, how much money am I going to make in the first month? And well, I like very, very, just, I want results and I want them now and I want this and I want it fast. And the type of boss that would go to a conference and hear something stupid that's not relevant as a marketing idea and then come back and go, I want this done by Friday. Anybody that fits into that category will use AI to replace staff. And they will use it blindly and quickly because they would not dive deep enough in to know the hurt that it would be causing to their creative process. So what they would do is they would go into their creative department or marketing department and say, okay, well, I can just get someone from the Philippines to come up with all of my strategy, and then I can get them to execute it using AI, and then they can schedule everything and they can do my management. And you're $150,000 a year and they're $3 an hour. So, what's that? And it's those companies that are going to be in trouble. Those are the ones that are
Yeah.
going, and also in a way, good. I mean, I think that some of these people need to get their comeuppance sometimes. I'm not a vengeful
They've got it
person,
coming to them.
but there's no rewards for being a shark. Also, there's not replacing human capital with machines is not maybe in our full lifetime. So I don't necessarily know if that's where I would want to cut my team down. You lose your culture. Everyone thinks that they're next. And then what if there's a chat GPT for finance or for like accounting or for coding? Then everyone starts to get scared. I think the people, but I also see companies that I'm talking with that are interested in learning how to utilize it to streamline extra projects, to create more time to put onto things that are important, to help their team brainstorm without those all hands point bulletin meetings where it's like, all right, everybody share your ideas. And everyone's like, don't call on me first. Don't call on me first. It's like it helps grease that a bit.
Yeah.
So what I think is that people that don't care about their business and looking at the details are going to suffer because they're going to think that it's the easiest way forward and they're going to experience no losses in the short term. It's the long term that would be the problem. Because when you've broken the function of your business to get it restarted, if you don't know how marketing works,
Right.
it's kind of hard. And also, I've talked to the people that I know that don't value marketing don't understand how to really put forth their own value that's not a sales pitch. So, um, I think that what I would like to see in the coming years are people not to think that it's a shortcut. Um, how do I substantiate that? Like, I would say I don't want people to think like, oh, I don't know this. Oh, answer. Boom. That's the right answer. Next. Because if we see a wave of that type of activity, and I've seen it because I've gotten things from clients, I got emails, I've gotten resumes that have the first sentence or the last sentence of the GPT intro. Hey, we
Hmm.
just came up with this for you. And it's like, dear Chris, it's like what are you smoking? Like you don't see that? It's the first thing you're copying and pasting. No wonder you're unemployed. But like
Right.
it's things of that nature. And when is that going to start dripping to newscasts when they're reading the teleprompter? When's that going to start?
Right.
And then that's when I think I'm really going to question everything. I'm already doing it because I'm sure you know people that you've dealt with that it's like something switched one day and they're eloquent. And it's like, whoa, whoa, what happened to you? You couldn't even spell the word music last week. And now you're like talking about, oh, I hope all of our ideas are in concert. I mean, give me a break. Um, it's so funny. And it's even funny because I'll look out because the proof is in the pudding, literally. If you talk to people and you want to see like when you're marketing yourself, your agency or your brand, as I'm sure you know, Ali,
Hmm.
like it needs to jive. It needs to be right. Obviously, you use different words and you need different like angles to go after different verticals, but you don't want what you're writing to be different than what you actually are.
Like
Because
how you
people,
speak. Yeah.
because people are like, oh, Chris, you need to use less exclamation points. And it's like, have you? I'm like an exclamation point. Like that. I'm like,
I am the human definition of an exclamation point.
so don't hate on my strike point game. Like so so yeah, I think that that's something that I've started picking up on. Also, like I've looked at some like websites I follow, and just like even if it's like gossip stuff, and I'll look at that and I'm like, this writer's using AI type language, and you can tell the language because it will be overuse of the word summation or over it just certain words that are
Delve into is another one.
yes.
Yeah, these words that are like I've noticed and they're not commonly used in everyday vocabulary. And you'll just like I'll notice I'll be reading like da 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 da, and then I'm like, wait, what? What? that word? Like, I haven't seen that word either before or in a long time. Like, and that's like the trigger that, oh, this is AI.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of, oh, this is so funny. One of the things I've done is I have a client that I'll volley back and forth with and have fun. And they were making fun of that I was like, you're so casual in your emails to me. And I'm like, well, we're friends. That's why I do that. And I was like, oh, great. I said, from now on in, I'm going to be much more formal. And any email that I write, I put it through ChatGPT and I say, put this in Old English. Eh. And so it writes it like Dickens. So it'd be like, are you ready for the meeting in 10 minutes? But it's like this long. They're like,
Thoust.
I did see, we're friends. We could do it.
That's
Uh,
cool. I think that's good. And that's even like a cool like flip on it to like go to the other extreme of like, yeah, using it for like old English language or, I really enjoy saying, oh, imagine you're this person and write like them. And then it comes through. And so like really taking the writing to the extreme rather than just going, oh, write me a blog post or an email. It's like giving it these really specific, like, yeah, in old English, like Shakespeare or pretend you're Taylor Swift or Elon Musk or whoever it is. And then like just that's been really fun to play around with just different angles of tonality and voice and all of that in the writing. Yeah.
oh yeah. And it's also really good too if you do stages of research through it and use different tools. Like I'll use Perplexity and then I'll run it past Claude and then I'll throw it into GPT. Like you can kind of chop them up and use them on different platforms. One of the things I like is if you are going to be writing to an audience and you're talking about something that is going to solve a problem for them. What I will do is I'll say, hey, act as a expert market researcher, especially with demographics, and based on the demographics of our target audience, if this happened, what would they feel like immediately? And explain in exact English a full fictional scenario of how that person would feel. And it's really interesting what it comes out with because it could be, yeah, they didn't get their product, so they're pissed off and they want their money back or whatever. But it could be like they were counting on that for this reason, and your product is generally a gift, so that means that that's going to complicate something else. So they're going to complain to everybody about how terrible of a company you were that you missed, and it's like, wow, there's more.
Right.
There's more to this. And is that all true? Who cares? It is relevant food for thought for you to be scared about if you're a customer service manager. So if you are developing any sort of customer service FAQs or even content based on FAQs, understanding like how that scenario works really does help. Also, I use it for elevator pitches. So I've seen so many elevator pitches this year that I'm like sick of seeing them. No, I'm sorry. I'll consult. I'm a consultant available, but like I say that, baby, it's a lot. It's a lot. And the when they are when anyone's writing elevator pitches right now, it seems that they are writing me, me. It's like, oh my gosh. So what I started doing was I would take them and I said, I am absolutely not interested in talking with this person. I've had a very, very busy day and I have 4 other meetings that I have to go through, but I have to be polite. What would be my responses to this pitch? Then I would get the salespeople that use the pitch. And then I would say, some of the responses that I would think could be elicited. Can you give me some of the responses that you got to that? They're like, yeah, we're awesome. Or I'll call you later. And I said, okay, excellent. Well, what I think is this. And it was basically, I'll call you later means I'm never going to talk to you again. I'll take your card means I'm throwing it out on the way out of the room. Like, and they were like, well, what substantiates that? And I was like, well, watch people next time that you have this when they leave you.
Right.
Oh, well, we don't have time for that. And I was like, good, because they don't have any time for you in your approach, right? You have to like be interested. Oh, you're leaving. Oh, okay, where are you going? Over there. All right, well, have a good day. See ya. And then where are they going? What's going on with them? Are they looking at your card? Are they getting it and throwing it in their bag, which they're never going to look at? Like it's just that type of stuff is interesting, and you can
Mhm.
some of those because it's ChatGPT is less about give me 5 articles that are talking about AI and more along the lines of how would this look? Because I think people will focus on give me 25 headlines that have like a high engagement rate and will give me high ROI if I post this on LinkedIn. And it's not going to know all that. So it's going to give you something that is compelling enough for you to believe it, which goes back
Right.
to an earlier subject is that you have to be the subject matter expert in what you're doing, where you're utilizing it to fill in cracks or to give you a fresh perspective. And it's perspective that I like the most because I don't think about some of the nuances in some target audiences I'm trying to go after because I'm not a member. And us as humans, if we don't, I would never react to that. Or I heard that on a call we were discussing about a month ago with a team. We were talking about a branding, and the branding was done for another agency, and we were talking about it, and they were discussing kind of the direction and things like that. And I was like, well, I feel like we're missing some of the context here, and how people are going to react. Have you thought about some of the reactions? And it was kind of like, well, yeah, well, we love uh, purple, and I'm like, okay, so why do you love purple? Well, my daughter's favorite color is purple. And I said, oh, over to you, branding crew. That's not my part of the project. And it was
Hands
just,
full.
shut up. And what I do is if I ever cannot help myself from saying something, I will mute myself on a call. I don't mute myself ever because I do find that very rude because I feel like I need to be engaged. But I will mute myself. And sometimes I'll be like, all right, folks, I'm going to mute myself. Just look, don't ask me questions. No, I do not want to do that. You don't want to like, especially when you're co-working on projects, you don't want to discredit anybody, but also your brand's in the mix. So how can I create boundaries where they
Right.
know what's in my yard is pretty and they can come in and visit and like it and pick some flowers and hang out. And then if they go the next door and it's a little bit different, it's next door's problem.
Yeah. No, I think that's important having boundaries, especially with clients and I think you mentioned earlier about like them understanding the marketing process. And I think that they make the best clients because if they're just like, oh, I'm just going to get ChatGPT to do this, or yeah, get someone to do this, it's like you mentioned, they're going to lose their business and it's going to be quite detrimental. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's right up there with these are the people that hire consultants instead of full-time employees. And they think that the consultant's going to solve the problem and they can just get some entry-level people to execute. And that's not an approach that works or has legs. And then,
Yeah.
especially, I've worked with companies in the past that I'm meeting their consultant and I can't say any of their first and last names. They're all 10 hours behind me. They are all using Google Meet. They're all like, and it's just, I know all these things. When I see them, I'm just like, quick fix. All right. Hey, consultant number 1025432. We know you can think
Yeah.
what you can bring to the table. It's not a magic wand.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people will, yeah, find value in hearing all of that. So, you're also, I mean, we're almost at one time, but I wanted to ask, yeah, like in terms of people listening to this, how can they future-proof themselves against AI? How can they equip themselves to obviously not be those like consultants who kind of sound like they're sticking their head in the sand in a way, or they're not really an expert in that space. Like, how can people really like step up and own AI and future proof themselves, regardless of what industry they're in?
Yeah, I think what I would say is we are all now conditioned to scroll through our lives and just take just glances at information. And then based on that glance, creating a confirmation bias of what the truth is. And I feel that that is not going to serve anybody well going forward, because obviously fake news is one thing, and people do tie AI to fake news and fabricated stories. And okay, is it fault? Is that a 100% false statement? No, it's not. And is it people going out to be malicious to mislead? Not all the time. It's people just like business owners that we were talking about that think that, hey, shortcut. And then you find out that all of the stuff that you put into that blog post was all the data was taken from 2021 because you're on the free version of GPT. It's like, Yikes. So if you want to future proof yourself, dig in to the information that you're consuming. If something is interesting to you, don't scan it, read it. You don't have any time? Why? What are you doing? What are you doing? What's so busy? Because you have to go on Instagram for your 15-minute scroll fast? I mean, give me a break. Nobody
Yeah.
needs to look at that many pretty pictures in a day. I think that, and also, what's the next thing that's going to come up is that all those pictures are going to be fake too. The influencer pictures are going to be done. Like, this is coming, and that scares
Yeah.
the influencers. Good, but sorry, that's all other shit. But future proofing yourself, you need to be interested and engaged in the world around you to understand what is false and what is true. And if you just look at what's on a screen and read everything very quickly and glean, and suddenly you're an expert in everything, you may be filling yourself with false information that you're then spreading to the detriment of the circles around you. And if everybody's doing that, then what is everyone's expertise going to be? It's going to be a very watered down society.
Right.
So,
No, I think that's an important point to make. And especially thinking about like, I think you touched on this, like the source of the information too, and like
ah,
verifying it, and like, who am I listening to in the AI space, and do they actually know what they're talking about, or are they just regurgitating? Are they, in whatever space it's in? But especially as we learn more about AI, it's like, is this person like, what's their credentials, or what's their history, or are they verifying stuff? Should I trust them? Should I listen to them? And really like coming at it like with that questioning mindset of not just assuming everything we read is true, not assuming everything we read online is true, and really testing and verifying and investigating and looking at statistics. And because I know someone else on the podcast mentioned this about, I can't remember the exact word, hallucinating. So AI that hallucinates and can, like I think you mentioned, like create quotes that weren't in an article, or stuff like that. So yeah, it's something to definitely like be aware of.
yeah, I really do think so. And it's like when you're talking about like these experts that are touting these different AI methods or whatever, it's this example I think really proves it. I wrote an AI ebook. It's available on my website, but I'm not really like trying to push it or anything. But I sent it out to my LinkedIn contacts and that were relevant. And I sent them out and I started sending this out like a month or two ago. And I have so many connections, it takes time. And I'm starting to get responses over the last month, which, hey, you obviously didn't look at my profile because I'm well versed in this space. I'm glad. Oh, sorry, Linda. And I looked at Linda's profile. Linda's a lifetime realtor. And she only started her AI assistant business and like a month ago. And that has happened with 27 people in the last 30 days. And
Wow.
really like, oh, you don't even know who I am. Like you worked at like Burger King and now you're like a consultant. Like, and
Right.
I've been seeing it with emails too. They're touting all of these. Start your own AI agency and AI this and AI. Fast money, folks. Fast money, fast money, fast
It's
money.
like the new get rich quick schemes. Yeah, the new scams. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, fun stuff. It's funny because I've talked to people that have said like, "Are you worried about all of this?" No, these are the same people that started social media agencies when I did that went out of business because they were selling snake oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good people always will survive, but good people that are informed will always survive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a really great note to end on because yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. So for people who want to connect and know more about what you do, where can they find you online?
Uh, my website's great because we have lots of tons of really great information. It's Go Sales and Marketing spelled out. So go salesandmarketing.com or thegoagency.com also works. That's a really good place there. On the website, I have my link for LinkedIn. And if anybody wants to connect with me, please feel free. That's kind of the best way because I publish quite a bit on LinkedIn. So it's good to see what I'm talking about. But also, if you have questions or you want to engage, that's a really great place because that is LinkedIn's like my spot. My team doesn't touch it, so I can kind of really get in there and have conversations on my own. But yeah, check out the website. Like, and that AI guide is on my website too, as well as like my entrepreneur articles and anything else that anybody can take anything away from.
Perfect. Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and thank you everyone for listening.
All right, thanks.